26 states challenging the president's health care law, no doubt. And attorneys general across the country are keeping a close eye on the building behind me. 6 of those attorneys general were in the courtroom today, including Alan Wilson of South Carolina, who joins us now. I guess, what is it, Mr. Attorney General? Thanks for joining. Let me just, you said something earlier. You said they were afraid of passing a tax increase, the whole idea of the mandate and the fine, so it's masquerading a tax increase. Now, I say that if it weren't masquerading a tax increase, they'd have a better chance of making it constitutional, would it not?
Just called it a tax, 2 years ago.
Would you have challenged it?
Well, I would have challenged it politically, in the arena of Congress.
But not legally.
But legally, it would have been much more difficult for us. They're trying to pass this thing. At the time, a tax was politically infeasible for them.
Right.
Now, it is constitutionally pragmatic for them to argue that it is a tax, but it's not a tax, and they're trying to usher this in under the Commerce Authority, and it's just simply not constitutional.
I want you to react to something, and I know you heard it. You were inside there. Here's what Justice Breyer said about commerce and Congress's power. Here's what he said.
And I think if we look back into history, we see sometimes Congress can create commerce out of nothing. That's the National Bank, which was created out of nothing to create other commerce out of nothing.
What do you make of that argument?
Well, they didn't do that under their commerce power. And so, it's an argument. He's applying a different constitutional standard.
What is it about this? Are you concerned about a 5-4 decision, or do you think the country will be okay if there is a 5-4 decision, which it feels like, if you just tea leaf read, that's where we're headed, one way or the other?
Listen, I just want a decision that strikes down the mandate and puts this thing back over to Congress, because this is it's an abomination, this bill.
And that's what you think needs to happen. If the mandate's struck down, you think Congress needs to go rewrite the law, because you do think there needs to be some parts of the law that need to be protected?
Absolutely. And I'm staying out of the political side of it. I mean, obviously politics and law collide here, but I'm focused more on the constitutionality of the law, and that's what the AGs are doing over in the Supreme Court right now. So whether it's a 5-4 or 6-3 or 9-0, we just want to win.
When it comes to this authority, and mostly where the states are concerned, it has to do with Medicaid funding, and the parts of this law that throw that there. What do you do? I mean, if you can't mandate somebody, but you have to still pay for it. I mean, how do you fix this part of it? I mean, you've run for office. You've had constituents ask you this. How do you fix that part of it?
As far as the Medicaid portion?
Yeah. How do you deal with the fact that everybody is going to use the healthcare system?
Well, first off, the government made its argument over there in the court today that this is a healthcare market. And my concern is not with what will ultimately happen if everyone falls into that market. If you can define it as a healthcare market, then you can basically, the government can regulate anyone who breathes, who eats, because everybody's going to get old, everybody gets sick, so says the government. But if the government can regulate the healthcare market, we're all in the healthcare market. I eat a greasy cheeseburger, my cholesterol goes up, I've entered the healthcare market. My concern is that Congress does not have the power to create commerce. They have the power to regulate it. They have the power to create money and to create a military and then regulate it, but they do not have the power to create commerce.
Who pays for this?
Who pays for this?
Yeah.
Well, it shouldn't be paid for in a required mandate. That's a political question that made it in Congress or in the states. It shouldn't be done this way through the Commerce Authority. You can't force someone into a contract that they don't want to enter into.
All right, Attorney General Alan Wilson from South Carolina. Thanks for joining me.